Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and this is Writing to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. In case this is the first time joining us, I want to say hello and welcome and thank you. Some of you might be here following Balticon, where I was a vendor for this past weekend. So if I seem a little bit tired, if I seem a little bit too energetic, it's been a long weekend. It was 4 full days. So Friday started at 2 for the dealers. Saturday was a full day. Sunday was a full day. And then today it went from 10 to 2. So I was selling my 2 books, Falling Through and Expanding Cracks. And I have a lot of things to say. There were a lot of great things. There were a lot of bad things. And there were a lot of things that I need to do better next time. But also cool to shout out to my wife, who was also there to help me out. So she was working behind the scenes, and when I accidentally didn't extend the parking long enough, she was in the car, just took it out of the garage, went to a park, read for a little bit, and then came back when I had everything packed up, and then we were able to get in the loading dock and come back here. So I am Whew. Yeah, so I want to thank all of you for being in the chat. So Richard, your question is, have you forgotten how to sleep? Kind of. I Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the con for the dealers ended at 7 o'clock. I walked right to dinner. On Friday, I went out to Shake Shack. On Saturday, I went to Pete's Poorhouse. And on Sunday, fun story about that, I went to Pratt Street Ale House. And every single time it went right from going to the con to, really quick throwing water at my face, trying to make sure I'm not completely disgusting, going to dinner, eating as much food as I can, and then going right back and passing out. So I was on most days out cold by 9:30. So on the one hand, I did not sleep. I am still exhausted. On the other hand, I got in a decent amount of sleep. I still woke up early to do my normal runs. So despite what Richard thinks with restaurants to write, because I did just shout out some of the fun Inner Harbor gatherings, I also managed to run. So I went from the Inner Harbor to Locust Point and back. That's 6 miles round trip. I did that Saturday and Monday, which is a great way to wake up and start the day. So again, even though I was at a con, even though I was exhausted, I still dragged myself out of bed and ran and then did a full day of cons. Yes, I did still do running. And wow, thank you everyone for joining us. Let me go through really quickly because I have a lot of shout outs within the AuthorTube community because I, in fact, prove that I am a real person in the AuthorTube community and that several other people within the AuthorTube community are real as well. So I'm going to do some really quick shout outs. Thank you, RC, for joining us. You were number one. Richard, yes, my number one publicist. He also posted in the Discord channel with a bunch of author tubers to promote today. So Falling Through is available on Amazon. We also have my newsletter because I don't have the Richard sheet told up that he normally does in his podcast. And yeah, Richard, for the first time, I had a post on TikTok. So my media manager, I don't know if she would like me to call her that, but my wife has the TikTok account and she just decided to put a video out there of me welcoming people to my booth and just sort of see what happens. So yeah, I'm on TikTok now with Writing to Write, and hopefully we will expand what I can do and use that as a springboard platform. Now we also have Books by Adrian joined in. Thank you. And I see RC Scott is here too. I already said he's here, but he's throwing up the rock on signs. And then we have Cool Gamer. Thank you for joining us. And let me see. I think I saw, JM Chaley as well. So, we got a little bit of inappropriate comments in there, but feel free to say whatever. I won't repeat it here because I try to keep things clean. And let's see, Mr. Vlandis, thank you for joining us. Wow, everybody, it is a Monday night. We are ready for starting off the official getting off of this long 3-day weekend. I took off Friday, but it's great to see everyone joining in 7 o'clock, whatever time it is for you guys. I know Richard, it's late for you because you're in the UK. Everyone else, I think some of you are in either my time zone or earlier. So Mountain Time, West Coast time, whatever. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's actually Tuesday here. Yeah, you're right. It is 12:06 where Richard is. So, and I wanted to do some genuine thank yous. So first of all, thank you to Sako Toomey, who was the first person to stop by my booth. She came by, I think the first day she was doing photographs of the dealer's room. She was really busy. She was the official photographer for the event. And so she was going to all the panels, but she stopped by the dealer's room and she took a picture. And I'm like, everybody had our masks on. So I'm like, I kind of recognize you. I think that's you. And so I looked at her and I was like, Sako Toomey. And then her face lit up and she's like, Ben. So it was great to meet her in person. And as for last night, like I said, I went out to the Pratt Street Ale House and I met up with Lauren and Nicole. And as you all might know her or might know them, they're the sisters, author Lauren Adele and Nicole the Blind Mage. So I proved to 3 other people that I'm in fact a real person. And I got to meet 3 other AuthorTubers in person, which is such a weird thing to experience because, you will only see me from like here and here. So, stomach up. And yeah, it's very interesting, seeing people aside from just their face, shoulders, and sometimes hands. So the thing that Lauren and Nicole kept saying was how surprisingly tall I am. I happen to be 6 foot, so that is caught them off guard how much taller I was. But it is always fun to meet in person and just to chat and hang out and talk about things which aren't always books. We got into a lot of great discussions and it was just really cool to see you all. So if you get a chance, I do recommend meeting people in real life. I know it sounds really weird because it's people you meet on the internet that are meeting in real life. And in any other situation, that is a giant red flag. But if you trust that person, if you know them, it worked out well for me. So hopefully, obviously don't go anywhere unsafe. I have no idea I know they live near Baltimore, but I have no idea exactly where they live. So we met in a communal place. So try and just do your safety checks first. But it is still great to meet people in person. And hello, thank you, Author and Sophie, for coming in and joining us. Who gave the best hugs? I will not say, Richard. And yes, I do in fact have legs. Good to know. But yeah, so going off of that, not only was meeting people that I knew previously through AuthorTube such a wonderful and fun experience, but I really lucked out at the con. There were 2 different rooms for dealers. I was in, I guess, dealer room B, and I was in the center of the room. So they have a square set up, and there was me, and behind me were 2 incredible authors. We have John L. French, who did Here There Be Monster, which is a Bianca Jones collection. This takes place in Baltimore. It's supernatural thriller. John L. French used to be in CSI. He used to be a CSI. I don't know how to say that. Crime scene investigator. So he brings in a whole lot of that experience to make the crimes more realistic. Yes, dealer. Vendor is probably the more appropriate name, but they called it the dealer room. So, that mean whatever you want. But anyways, John L. French, I'll do a huge discussion about him, and Patrick Thomas, who has Tales from Bullfinch's Pub, which is I described, well, based on what he said, it's like Cheers, where it's a leprechaun uses gold to start up a pub and then solve problems. So Hercules is the bouncer. There's a whole lot of supernatural elements to it. And both Patrick and John were fantastic. They've been in the con circuit for 17 years, and they've been coming back for Baltimore. I'm sorry. This was in Baltimore. So John's story takes place in Baltimore. And John and Patrick were wonderful. They basically took me under their wing because they have a lot of experience at coming to these cons. And every time there wasn't anybody there, we were just talking about what it's like to write and to go to cons. And they gave me a whole bunch of other suggestions for how to improve my own setup, what to look for, what cons to go to. And yes, these are signed. Of course they are. And fun fact, I will tell a little bit of story. So I go in early on Friday to set everything up, and I'm looking across. There's somebody who clearly are bookstore owners. So they have a wide array of books. I'm setting up my two little books here. I have my posters with the book covers, book covers, and I'm putting them up on the table. And I see one person who's clearly a bookshop is probably the better way of putting it. So they're putting up book after book after book after book. They're taking up two old tables. Then there's somebody else who comes in with, again, like a little mini library. They set up in the corner. There's somebody else who sets up with their mini library. And then John L. French came in and he starts doing the same thing. And we start chatting up. And I'm like, oh no, I'm in the wrong place. Like I thought I signed up for the dealer for vendors to be I thought that I was supposed to sign up as a vendor, but I'm clearly in the wrong place because everyone here is just these bookstore owners and they have all these wide arrays of books. And, he's like, well, I'm actually an author too. And I just happen to have a huge library of books. So he had 30 different books they brought. They're from all types of different genres. And so he was actually, he talked me down to alleviate a lot of my worries that had just sprung up because I thought that I had signed up in the wrong place and I was going to be the one black sheep in the room. And fair enough. Bullfinch. Yeah, sorry. So Patrick is actually, I think he's from New York. So that's what this is based out of. So yeah, this might very well be Boston location. I haven't read the back yet. I was just sort of talking. But yeah, it's in all likelihood that is a Boston location. So that might be right up your alley if you want to peruse Patrick Thomas's books. I have a long TBR. These books obviously jumped up to the top, so I will read them and I can let you know how they go. And yes, I did give them my books. A bunch of stories about that. So it's the final day. I sold one of my books to John, but Patrick was kind enough. There were two of my books that had damage done to them. So one of them must have been like a printing problem because there was a little frayed corner at the side, and so the back it looked fine. And then I pick it up to give it to somebody who was about to buy it, and then I realized that oh no, there's the back is all messed up. So obviously I didn't sell it, and so I set it aside. The second one, I was an idiot. I was writing because I try to write like personal notes, like, "Hey, I hope you like this book." Signed Ben Pick, and enjoy the adventure. Get lost in the void. All types of fun little things to make it more than just Excelsior or something very very simple. Because I wanted to try and personalize these to the people who were coming up to the booth. Oh, great. Hey, Richard, thank you for coming in and joining us. This is awesome. And yeah, we are basking in my exciting glow. I'm quite excited. So, anyways, I was writing. I hope you'll continue. So, this wonderful man came in and bought both books because he seemed really interested in the Falling Through and Expand Cracks, which I kept going through and on about how they are X-Men meets Stranger Things. And then we got talking, and he's a YA author. I don't think he has the books published yet, but if he does, I'll look him up. Anyways, that's all backstory. The point is, I start writing a personal letter to, a personal thing in there before I sign it. And I'm like, thank you for continuing the journey. And of course, I'm an idiot. So I wrote CONTINUEING. And then I look at it, I'm like, continuing doesn't have an E in it. And I actually pull up my Google and like I type in, he's looking at me like shaking his head, like there's no E in continuing. It's fine. Just like cross off and whatever. I'm like, no, I'm a professional. So here you go, have a new book. So that whole story to say that I had two books that were damaged because I had to cross off the whole personalized note in there. And so Patrick was kind enough to buy them at a discount. I was planning to just give them to him at the end, but he insisted they pay me something for them. So they were about half price. And yeah, like I said, Patrick and John, they are wonderful, wonderful authors. And more than that, they're just personalities at Balticon. There were so many people who came in who said hi to them, who had years of experience of just hanging out at the con and just chatting it up in between when there's nobody around. So there were other vendors who were there. There were other people who were fans of their series who came back year after year after year, and they would chat them up and say, what new books have you created since the last time you were here? So yeah, there was a lot there. And again, since I'm doing the whole spiel on people who I met there, again, Rod Van Blake. I met him the previous year when I went as an attendee, and I asked him a whole bunch of questions. Since then, I interviewed him on Shannon's self-publishing tips and tricks, and he gives a whole bunch of really good places for me to look into. Then in the podcast episode, he gave me a whole bunch of places to look into as an author to just sell my book. And he was doing the same thing here. He was actually in the different dealer's room, but we kept running into each other in the hallway, and he is a giant man, which is, I know if Lauren and Nicole hear me say that, that's going to be really intimidating because they already think that I'm, exceptionally tall or whatever. And yeah, so he towers over me. To give you some point of reference, I'm 6 foot. He's got to be at least 6'3", and he is like very strong, and he's just this friendliest, most outgoing person. And he would shout at me from like ways away, and he'd be like waving, and there was all types of great positive energy there. So again, Rod Van Blake. I have his Ancient Illuminations, which is his military sci-fi. This one is more magic focused. I haven't actually read it yet. This is the first book in the series, so I'm excited to pick it up. And not only does he have that book, but there are prequel comics to go along with it. So we have this wonderful prequel comic to go along with that. And thank you, JR, for joining in. We have Jonathan. So nice. I appreciate you coming in. You also have your own Monday night show, which I believe starts at 9 p.m. Eastern time, but correct me if I'm wrong. If you post in the chat, I will put it up here. And yeah, so that was the great parts about Balticon. And going back to the person who I messed up when I was writing them a personalized note, not only did they buy both books, but they were waiting for somebody's panel. I don't think I actually asked who, but it was probably John Scalzi. Either way, there's a big panel that was drawing a whole lot of people. The guy who wrote whatever. I'm not going to remember. I'm too brain dead at the moment. But anyways, he was waiting for a panel, and while he was waiting, he started reading. And he actually came back after reading the first 2 chapters of Falling Through to tell me how much he enjoyed it. So that meant a lot to me. It was late in the Saturday. I was kind of losing my momentum. I'm not nearly as excited as I was. I wasn't nearly as excited as I am now. So it was, like I said, it was late in the day, and that just picked me up instantly. And I was right back in the moment, and I was ready to just be outgoing and engage with other people. So Gray, he's an author, and he, like I said, I know it seems like such a little thing, but telling authors, especially self-published authors, that you like their work, that is such a wonderful, wonderful feeling. So that's how some things are going. That's the good of it. And there was another woman. I started off very, very slow on Friday with sales, and then this woman came around, Patty. She's a common Balticon goer, and like I said, I don't think I had sold anything yet, and she just saw that I was a new vendor at the con, and so she bought both my books, and I was ready to just tear up. She goes around and she ends up with like huge stacks of books, so I was one of many, but it just meant so much to me that she would be willing to take a chance with my books, even if they weren't necessarily matched for her. She might be giving away to somebody else. Who knows? It was just a wonderful, bright moment within the con. And so that's all the good. The bad is the sales. So all in all, I have my whole spreadsheet laid out here. Most of these are things that I will, how to put it? These are expenses. So in total, I spent $1,800 to prep for Balticon. But a lot of those and buying the books, if I haven't sold the books, I still have them upstairs in stock. So I haven't technically lost or gained that money yet. It's just there's a business word for it, but it's I don't want to say lost expense, but anyways, it's something I paid in advance to then recoup later. So the things I did lose out on of that 1800, about half of that went to the hotel, to the parking, to getting 2 badges, which I'm going to describe as lessons learned because I didn't need to do really the hotel or the badges. But all in all, after the full weekend, I only sold 10 of my books, which, I was honestly hoping to do more, but any amount that I sell is positive. And weirdly enough, I sold a decent number of ebooks. So I had a little Kindle QR code, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, I don't have room at home, but I would love an ebook," or "Oh, $10 is too much for me to spend right now. I'm going around the con. I want to buy a whole bunch of different books." So I would just hold the ebook QR code, and some people were still willing to buy my book just in a digital format, so it's slightly easier. And like I said, I only sold 10, but I still have plenty more that I plan to sell. And a couple of things I might do next year, I'm still sort of debating it. First of all, I need to read the fine print and not get too excited about getting tickets because I bought badges for my wife and I before I knew that I would actually be an official vendor. So if I had waited just a little bit longer to sign up for the vendor thing, I would have gotten a free badge for myself and my wife, which would have obviously saved me about $140. And then next year, I have some friends in Baltimore, so I might just stay instead of staying at the hotel. I don't think I really would gain a whole lot because he lives pretty close to where the hotel is. So I could actually just stay with him and that would have my expenses. So I would be much easier to get to that making a profit point if I didn't stay at the hotel. So just a couple of things to look at and brace for next year. And they are mentioning the perfumes. So on Sunday, I had 0 physical sales of my books. There were, 1 or 2 ebooks, but that's again kind of weird to bring all my books with me and not and to sell more ebooks than I did that day. Anyways, the point is, I had perfumes for various locations and characters within my books. There's one for the Void, which is kind of a weird smell. It's otherworldly, it's ozonic. I don't know how else to describe it. My wife, Adriana, is the one who made these perfumes, and she has trouble describing what it is, but she went for a really otherworldly smell, and that's what everyone said. Like, this is so weird and bizarre. No one actually got that. No one actually bought the ozone smell, or that was by far the least favorite one. There's also the Ancient Market, which is very spice and heavy. It's very spicy and rich and lively. That was the most popular one by far. There's also Tracy, which is, she's a high school girl. She's very boisterous and outgoing and loud and outspoken. And so that's a very sweet smell, a very strong smell. Yeah. Yeah, so most people didn't like the Void. There's also some that are the wood. So there's one for Flint's house, there's one for Derek's home, and they're different types of the wood. So they smell uniquely like different woods, but they are definitely wood smells. And so, anyways, on Sunday, I didn't actually sell any physical books, but I did sell one of the perfume bottles for the Ancient Market, which is always fun. And Easy Graphics, thank you for joining in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let me see. I want to just double back a little bit, trying to catch up on everything. Whew, there is a lot. Wow, you guys are talking it up. Let me see. So yes, thank you, Richard. You are on the ball. Like I said, Jonathan, you do your casting. I want to say it's Monday nights. I want to say it's 9:00 my time. It might be 8 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, feel free to post in here too. Let me see here. Yeah. So it's really cool. There were a bunch of people who had novels and comic books. Like I said, the guy next to me, Patrick, he has a huge log of books. He's been writing for 25 years. Anyways, he's got fantasy, he's got military sci-fi, he's got very sarcastic Cthulhu ads where you write in and Cthulhu gives you advice columns. He's also got kids books, so he was drawing in all different readers, so families, hardcore military sci-fi people, fantasy readers, you name it, he had something for him. So yeah, I learned a lot just hearing him talk about his various books. And well, thank you. Of course, my wife thinks I did wonderful for my first con. Yeah, and a lot of that is again helped along by my wife Adriana, who was there right beside me. She was promoting a lot of the perfumes. I kept calling them smells, and she called me out for that because they are perfumes, and I was going by the wrong thing. But anyways, let's see here. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. I hate to say it, but I'm also really proud of managing to get through this. There are a bunch of other cons I want to go to. I'm going to not be able to make it to AwesomeCon this year, but apparently they have a local authors section, which could really, really help me out next year, because I know that there is a large number of high volume people going through at AwesomeCon. So that is something to look into and definitely try and be a part of next year. So thank you, Richard. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Adrian. Really appreciate you guys' support. Oh. Yep, I do have everything tracked in a spreadsheet. And yep, I was with the veteran authors. Yeah, there were a lot of things I was hearing about behind the scenes, but honestly, this is my first con, so I had no expectations, and everything everything was positive. Yeah, Richard, I'll post this. You guys don't actually have to help me out for my con expenses. Honestly, what would help me a lot more for those of you who have read my books and who haven't reviewed it, just that goes a much longer way. Or just, tell your friends that I'm a writer and to check out my book. Let me see what else we got. Yeah, we had this fun conversation about how tuna mac and cheese would make a great scent. Yeah, that would certainly be a choice. I don't think I would necessarily go with her. Yes, thank you. Capital investment. So that might be the word I was going for how much money I spent on the books, which are now just staying in boxes, and I will hopefully go through them soon. Yeah, so Jamie, I brought 50 copies of Falling Through and 30 of Expanding Cracks. So I have most of that left. So I have 40 copies of Falling Through left, and what did I say, 30. So I have about 26 copies of Expanding Cracks left. So I think my math was a little bit wrong there. I sold 10 copies of Falling Through, and I think I sold 4 copies of Expanding Cracks. It might be 5. Either way, 10 to 15 books. That's how many I sold this weekend. And it would be nice. Obviously, I would have loved to have sold more, but I have a whole bunch of cons and local places to look into to continue selling my books. So again, they aren't lost expenses or anything like that. I am just going to keep my books and sell them as I sell them. Sorry, I am trying to catch up as quickly as I can through everything here. Yeah, RC, I would be more than happy to send you some of the perfumes. There are some interesting ones. There are some very woodsy ones. So JR, again, yeah, this was all about the social experience. I met a lot of people. There was actually, it was kind of weird because I feel like I had a lot more conversations with authors than I did with potential readers, which is the same problem I experienced on YouTube. But this wonderful woman came around and she was telling me how she is going to be at AwesomeCon and how she's getting a table. And I was really hesitant about it, but she sort of pushed and she said, they have, it's not just it's not just Artist Alley, which is what I experienced before. And I've gone through AwesomeCon. And yeah, there's a lot of really cool things. There's a lot of, artists with their posters, their paintings, their crochet, their little figurines and everything. And there were authors there too. And I actually picked up it's a Pirate Girl book, which was really cool, and like the edges were frayed, so it's kind of like a lost book. But I feel like a lot of the books themselves, a lot of the authors get kind of lost up in the mix. And AwesomeCon apparently has this new. They have Artist Alley. They also have a place explicitly for authors. So next year, I'm definitely going to try and get a table. I know it will be a lot more expensive, but it is a local con, and with the foot traffic, I think it's more than worthwhile. And yeah, I have made plenty of quality connections. There's Jennifer Gwen, who came around, and she is a recording artist, so she helps authors make audiobooks. There were a bunch of other people who came around who were either aspiring authors or just we chatted up. And yeah, there are plenty of connections. I have so many business cards, and that is another lesson learned. Did not have I didn't have my own business cards. I'm used to being at professional conferences where I basically just throw them out, so I don't really put much faith in those. But next time I will absolutely have something so that on the back you can just scan QR codes. So what I was handing out bookmarks and then just writing my email address on the back of that and sort of calling it a day. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, we can definitely pick and match between the various aromas there. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I I mean, yeah, the perfumes are, again, 5 out of 6 of them are great perfumes to wear. The Void, I wouldn't it sets up the mood if I were reading this book, but I wouldn't necessarily want to smell like the Void. Like I said, 2 of them are very woodsy, one of them is very sweet, and then the other 2 are very spicy. So that would actually be some good perfumes. And yeah, we were considering making the tuna mac and cheese perfume. That was kind of vetoed. Uh, whew, yeah. So update: JR is streaming tonight at 9 p.m. So yeah, and then the nights out. I gotten about a year's worth of my socializing in the past 4 days, so I'm going to need to recharge. Wow, you all are very over 20 sales from foot. Yeah, over 20 sales. So I would say 15 sales from foot traffic. I guess if you want to factor in perfume and ebooks, I probably hit 20, but yep. So yes, necessary for tax purposes. Although I think technically, well, yeah, the con gives me um, a tax number to use. And woot, we have Lauren, author Lauren Adele. I can verify that Lauren is a real person, and she can then verify that I'm in fact a real person because we met in person and we all had dinner together. It was really fun. Got to catch up and so much good times. Yeah, so LLCs, that might make sense if I start becoming more profitable. Right now, I'm definitely in the red, so I don't know if it necessarily makes sense to do that. The tables, Balticon was actually cheap. It was about 180. AwesomeCon, I think, is like 500 to 800. I don't know. I looked into it years ago. It's probably gone up since then, so I don't have a good answer. Yeah, AwesomeCon is huge. Balticon, it's explicitly, I guess, science fiction fantasy, and it's I don't know how to describe it, but it is definitely more personal. It's it feels very local. AwesomeCon draws in a massive crowd. To name some of the big names that are coming through, in the past I've seen John Barrowman there. Stan Lee's been to one of the years. A whole bunch of other big names. For this year, they have the latest Doctor is there. They have Elijah Wood. They have a whole bunch of other people, and unfortunately, I can't make it as an attendee. Would have loved to, but I definitely want to go next year as a vendor. And yes, Nicole, thank you for coming in. And again, thank you for coming out and meeting me in person and having dinner. It was a lot of fun. Whew. So yes, I want to do audiobooks. I think that would be, I mean, that would be a couple $1,000 investment. And as I haven't really recouped my losses for marketing, for all these other expenses. That's just one more thing um to add on. So I don't necessarily have the money that I can budget through to make an audiobook at the moment, but that is one of the major things that I want to get to. And maybe I'll bite the bullet and just prep for next year to have something ready to go at these cons. Actually, so Jennifer Gwen is an audiobook, a voice vocalist for authors creating audiobooks. And so her, Patrick, John, and my wife Adriana were just having this long conversation about how to create her own platform, kind of like to go against, not to go against, but to how an author can have their audiobooks in a way that is easily distributable. So maybe something going outside of audiobooks, and how to set up a license for that. They were going on and on about all the various ways to do it. So I'm curious to see what Jennifer does with that. And yes, that was a rookie mistake. That was kind of a hangover from my professional life, where I'm just used to tossing business cards in the trash or just not even bothering to take them. And that is completely different here. I'm all about promoting myself at a con, so I need to step it up. And wow, whew, I'm very sorry. I'm not going to be able to catch up with everything. Get the rest. You deserve it. Yep. And thank you, Richard. Yeah, Price War is the first book. You are currently editing, or you're currently on, not a timeout, but you have finished writing the second book. You put it away for a month, so you'll pick it back up again for editing. All right. Oh, good. Dinner's running late, so I don't have to rush. Sunk cost is the word I was looking for. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And they don't go bad. So yeah, that is one of the things that so many people said, is that no one else at the table, no other vendor had perfumes to promote their books or to garner attention. So it was an initial draw in to just start up a conversation about how I write, what I write, the various smells that one might think of when they're reading my books. Yeah. So fun little detail. Adriana was not with me at the start. She trained in towards the end of Friday. And so I was talking up with Patrick and John about how my wife was, Patrick and John about how my wife was coming in. And for a long time, they thought that I was just making her up. And then she finally showed up. So she is not, in fact, a robot, or she is a real person. Whew. And now that I think I have finally caught up, yes, you're right. That would really be helpful for tax purposes to get all those losses in there. So that is something to look forward to. That is a whole heapy mess of things I need to do in the future to advance my career as an author. And if I ever get an LLC underway, I will 100% share it with the fellow watchers of my YouTube channel. And that reminds me, so I had two different QR codes. I had one for the ebook and I had one for YouTube. So I have a few more subscribers out there. So if this is the first time you're watching my channel, welcome. If I met you at Balticon, thank you. Even if I don't care whether or not you bought a book. It just means more that you talk to me. It means a lot that you actually are subscribed. It means a lot. Even for those of you who are here now who know me from before. Anyways, all of you coming out, I want to just thank you all for watching. And yeah, audiobooks can be a wonderful platform and buy-in to help bring in new readers. So yeah, Adriana, my wife, is not a bot, and I'm taller than I look. So thank you everyone is busy. Adriana's in ChatGPT. Yes, she is not ChatGPT. Don't tell me that's fine. Oh boy. Wow. So yeah, I wasn't actually going to share that, but that's fine if you choose to do so. Adriana was out we were both up there helping her mother who had knee surgery. I came back early because I needed to drop off the dog and then pick up all my books and then go back up to Baltimore. And then Adrian trained down to meet me there. So, yeah. And then when she came down, her sister went up to help her mom. So, anyways, that is the very not so short rundown of Balticon. If you're in the area, I strongly recommend going. It is just so much fun talking to other vendors, talking to other artists, and speak about other artists. I have a little dragon right here. I want to do one little promo for. I lost their business card. Omnihedral. There we go. They are in Savage, Maryland. They rent out games. They have board games there, but you can also rent them for like a week. And they have 3D printing. They're also STEM. So I think they have just random space that you can use to help further education. And as you see, they have little 3D printed dragons. That was a huge draw in. So between Patrick with his kids' books and the dragons there was a whole influx of kids. My books are, I wouldn't necessarily say they're too inappropriate for kids. There is a little bit of swearing, so that wasn't my primary market. But again, it drew in a lot of people. And if you're in the area, it is over Memorial Weekend. I think it's over Memorial Weekend every Memorial Weekend. So if you're in the area, please do come out to Balticon. I have every intention of being back there next year. So assuming I didn't screw up or, do the wrong thing or get on somebody's naughty list, I will be back there next year, and it'll be a great chance to meet up in person. Or if you're at AwesomeCon, not this year, but hopefully next year, I plan to be there. There's also Virginia, Loudoun County, Read local fair, I guess is probably the best way of doing it, where they support local authors. Richmond Comic-Con, I might actually start going to Comic-Cons because from what everyone is telling me, they have more and more author sections for local authors. So those can be great avenues to promote myself. So again, if you're in the area, come to London. Richard, I spent $600 on a hotel and think that's a heavy expense. Going to a conference in London would probably be cost prohibitive, but hey, if I get an LLC and that's a tax write-off, or if I'm doing a vacation and I happen to schedule it around the time when there is a con, it might work. And yeah, I plan on having 3 books to take with me next year. I've currently finished the first few. Well, I finished the first draft of book 3, and I'm sort of going through various iterations. I think I'm through the 3rd revision of it. Anyways, yeah. Well, we're trying to go to Italy next year, so we'll see what we can do. Anyways, I am rambling. Thank you everyone for joining me, whether you're new, whether you're I don't want to say old friend of the channel, but if you have been here before, I want to thank all of you for coming in and showing up and just hanging out. This was a lively chat, and yeah, again, thank you all. I know a lot of you have social media platforms, and you were retweeting and posting on all of them to try and get people out remotely. Oh yeah, thank you. JD Estrada, he is down in Puerto Rico, and he saw my Facebook post and he reposted to try and garner interest for the chat. So again, thank you everyone for coming in here, watching me, posting in the comments, keeping it lively, and for always just showing your support. I keep saying, I don't honestly care if you buy a book. I care much more about these fun conversations in the chat, whether it's something stupid, whether you're being overly punny, whether you are just saying hi. Thank you everyone. And now I'm going to go eat dinner and then just pass out. So take care, and I will see you all next time on Running to Write. I think I might be doing another live episode. I'm going to just I had something set up. I have a previous recorded episode, but I think I'm just going to go skip ahead and let me see it. I have in my notes in my calendar. So June 5th. Yeah. So I'm planning on doing a June 5th on injuries and motivation slumps. So I'm going to probably do a live episode on those. My knees are kind of hurting right now, so I've been pulling back on the amount of distance I do and how that is relating to my writing. So I've gotten through some motivational slumps at the start of this year. I'm currently borderline injured, so I'm doing less running, and I'm going to talk about that next week. So I hope to see you there. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Oh, and one last thing. Yeah, so again, if you read a local author self-published books, if we're in here, just no, there's no gory pictures, Richard. Just when you finish reading a self-published author's books, send them a note saying, "Hey, this was really cool. I like what you do." It goes so far. Trust me on this one. I've experienced it. I had a conversation with R.C. Scott this past week about how I really enjoyed his book, and he came back and said how much that meant to him. So again, if you read local, if you read self-published, doesn't need to be local, just let those authors know that you like their works. And again, I've said this so many times. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful night.